So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. And overnight it was, well, it's been suggested, I suppose, more so than it's been linked that Felipe Anderson from Lazio, former West Ham United player, has been linked with Aston Villa Football Club on a free transfer in the upcoming summer transfer window. It's just an interesting one. Basically, I put something up on Twitter, and I didn't plan on doing a video on this, but I put something up on Twitter, and it was interesting, the feedback that came back from it. I looked obviously at Twitter with regards to where people's thoughts were on this one. And they seem to be all over the map, from he's absolutely amazing, he's exactly what we need, to he's crap, he was useless at West Ham. And as we know, when you've got two extremes like that, there is very few times it will be either from the extreme that he's going to be absolutely amazing or he's going to be absolutely crap. And, the truth potentially lies somewhere in the middle. And I put up a small piece about him because it's interesting. I think a lot of people are so down on this transfer link because of the age of the player. He's 30. He's going to be 31 very, very soon. And I think also, a lot of people are always bitten by players that come to the Premier League that maybe don't make it their first time round, and then maybe get linked to come back once more. And, a lot of people think that, if they couldn't hack it in the Premier League the first time, they're not going to be able to hack it in the Premier League the second time, and they don't look at a context, or they don't look at maybe the player actually did hack it in the Premier League, and it's just their perception of what happened, or maybe there was an acrimonious exit that allows people to forget actually how decent that player was in the Premier League. I think there's a very big argument to be made that Felipe Anderson falls into that category. As a player, he's always been very well thought of in Italy. He's been somebody who's tore it up for Lazio, and even since he's gone back to Lazio, he's been a real standout player for them. He's done an awful lot for that team since he's gone back. And he's been a real progressive player for them. He's been somebody who's come in there, been a leader, been a talisman for them, which has been something that they've needed. And with regards to the first stint he had, I suppose, at Lazio, he came from Serie A in 2018, signed with West Ham. That first year he played with West Ham, he scored 10 goals. Scored 10 goals for West Ham that year, and I think he had 3 assists. And then the next year it wasn't as good, and then he was shipped out on loan to Porto in 2020, 2021. And a lot of the reasons there was that, he seemed to, I'm not going to say that he was scapegoated or anything like that, but if memory serves me right, there was change of manager, and there's a lot of context with regards to it. It's been really interesting to see on Twitter. A couple of West Ham fans have chimed in underneath the post I put up on Twitter, and they said that a lot of that there was potential issues within the dressing room within the team at that time as well. So seems to be a lot of context behind Felipe Anderson being really, really good one season and then not being able to refine his form again for West Ham. And then he goes back to Serie A, and he picks up the pace again. First season back with Lazio in 21-22, he scored, first season back with Lazio, he scores 7 goals. Second season, which was last year, 22-23, he scores 12 goals. So he gets back into the goals then when he goes back to Serie A. And I know people will say, oh yeah, Serie A is a different league. There will be always people out there that think that the Premier League is so superior to any other league in the world that when other players leave the Premier League and go to another league, that the only reason that they can contribute in that league is because that league is of a poorer standard. And I don't really buy into that. I don't buy into that when you're talking about there being a 38-game season, and the fact that, yes, the Premier League is of a high standard when you look at maybe the top 7 clubs, but once you go to maybe the top 8 or the 8 or the 9th club, then you're getting into teams that are very much of the same standard of maybe the top 10, top 11, top 12 in other leagues. That's a conversation for another day. I know not everybody would agree with that, but that's a conversation for another day. So why did I want to talk about this guy? Once again, I don't know if we're going to sign him. Being very, very heavily linked with Juventus on a free transfer. Juventus in this transfer window, this January transfer window, that Juventus want to pay a fee for him. He can talk to clubs outside of Italy because his contract is up at the end of this year. Aston Villa have a proclivity to sign a free transfer every now and then. Yuri Tielemans, number 1, Boubacar Kamara, number 2. And I'm wondering if this is a policy, not so much a policy, but if there's areas like this that they find that they're too good to turn down, and they're willing to say, yeah, we'll sign this guy up on a pre-contract agreement, and then see what happens then, and bring him in the summer. Could be good business from that point of view. I don't expect Aston Villa to pay a transfer fee for him now, but I wanted to take a look at him and see what he brings to the table. And I want to look at him in different areas because I want to see how he's, number 1, I suppose, look at him in different roles. I want to look at his attacking statistics. I wanted to look at his defensive statistics. And then I wanted to look at him potentially as a second striker. Predominantly plays off the right wing again. And I can hear the comments coming already saying we've too many people play from the right wing. A lot of people that start off on the right wing are interchangeable. Like, he's not a winger as such. When we play with Moussa Diaby out on the right wing, he's not a winger as such. He drifts inside. He plays that second striker. There's rotational pieces there. McGinn drifts out there as well. So it's not a static winger situation like potentially. You think back to the late 90s. David Beckham used to stand out there with Gary Neville, and it was very much an overlapping fullback, wide midfielder / winger situation that you had there. Ryan Giggs was like that on the other side for Manchester United. Unai Emery's tactic doesn't dictate that. You get people that move up towards the striker an awful lot, specifically when you're in those wide areas and that wide right area. Yes, I know we've got Moussa Diaby, we've got McGinn, we've got Leon Bailey that can play in that position. But I want to look at this guy as playing in that wide right area, that attacking right midfielder area. I want to look at him as that right midfielder area, and I also want to look at him in that support striker role as well. So let's take a little look here. And by no means, I haven't done a ton of study on him from a video point of view. I just watched some Y Scout stuff on him. I haven't gotten it. Usually what I would do is I would watch 3 games on each player just to get a feeling for them in and out of possession and so on and so forth. I haven't done that with Felipe Anderson, so full disclosure on that one first before we take a look at it. But let's have a look at him. Just checking, see I've spelt his name right. If I haven't, I apologize. And next I check, yes, his date of birth is right, because I do have a penchant to get those very wrong from time to time, and not change them from previous slides I did. So let's take a little look at him here. I wanted to take a look at him in that wide area, that wide position that we look at. The biggest thing that strikes me here is we look at his heat map. His heat map is very, you can see how far back he comes. You can see how far into the box he goes. So he's very industrious on that right-hand side. The biggest piece that jumps out to me here is when we look at his shooting stats, he doesn't take an awful lot of shots. Therefore, if you don't take an awful lot of shots, you don't have an awful lot of shots on target. And a lot of people will see that as a negative. A lot of people will see that as a negative from the point of view of the amount of shots he takes per 90 minutes. We've had players before, i.e. I'm going to say Philippe Coutinho, who would shoot for the sake of it. I've often said the team needs to shoot more. There's a happy medium with regards to this. He's pretty efficient with regards to his to his shot taking. We'll see that again in a moment. The biggest area of real intrigue for me here is his passing and his possession statistics along with his defensive stats. And when we look at those in comparison to the players that we have already, we see a different type of player. So when we have people who say, and look, I'm not saying that anybody's wrong. I'm not having a go at anybody for saying we've got too many people who play from the right-hand side. You're absolutely right when you say that, because we do. But it's about different types of players, I suppose, for different types of situations. Because with Leon Bailey's emergence and the fact he's been able to play up top behind an Ollie Watkins, same with Diaby, and the fact that look, we don't know what the future holds for somebody like Zaniolo, and he's been played from the left-hand side anyway. And McGinn also has played up top with Ollie Watkins as well. It's about fluidity and formational kind of elasticity, I suppose, that we can change and move and direct players around as and when games dictate. But the big thing that jumps out for me with regards to Felipe Anderson is the Trojan defensive work that he does. Does loads of defensive work for a wider player. Like it's not even like we'll see at the moment. It's huge. Yes, he doesn't shoot as much as the other players that we have. We see here that Leon Bailey takes over 2.5 shots per game. Zaniolo takes over, I think, 2.8 shots per game, and over 3 shots per game. And Diaby takes over 2.8 shots per game. So they take more shots. Felipe Anderson is more economical with the ball. He's more of a creator. He tries to get stuff in and around there. And we can see that when we look at his goal-creating actions being in the top 30%. So he's more of that creative aspect. I haven't put Emi Buendia in here for very good reason. I probably should have. I didn't because he's injured at the moment. He's going to be out for the whole year. But my thoughts for somebody like a Felipe Anderson is that hybrid mix between maybe a wide player slash an Emi Buendia type that can incorporate that area in front of the back four, while Ollie Watkins is obviously occupying defenders. Remember, we had it last year whereby that position there was really good for our triangular play, our box midfield, and so on. Was able to get a lot of joy out there. Sometimes Douglas Luiz might never pass on. He put a pass into space into that area, and Buendia will pop out and up out of nowhere. Yes, there was times when Buendia was less economical with the ball and he lost it. It was maybe pushed off it a bit. That's where I'm thinking that there's a potential that Felipe Anderson could play in this area as well, given his overall defensive and passing possession stats. And these I've only shown the last 365 days here, but what I did do is I went back and I looked, and he's always had that work ethic from a defensive point of view. Always kind of had that work ethic as well, which is shows the sustainability of it. It's not a flash in the pan kind of stuff that he has here from that point of view. So interesting numbers here, as I say. He's got decent shot on target, better shots on target. Like, he takes less shots, but he's got more shots on target. He's got a better shot on target ratio, should I say, than our current players. Same, he's up there with shot creating actions, up there with goal creating actions with the players that we have at the moment. One of the biggest things here is to say economy with the ball. He does not get dispossessed. So in the dispossession piece, the line that's over Leon Bailey's face again. I do apologize for that, Leon Bailey. If you're watching this is nothing against you. Just so happens that you're there, and I shouldn't really move you out for future podcasts. But you don't want to have a big spike at that dispossessed piece, which is at the 6 o'clock on the if you're looking at this o'clock, it's 6 o'clock position. You do not want to have a big spike there. And as we can see, Zaniolo gives away the ball a lot. Bailey gives away the ball a lot, or gets dispossessed, I suppose, more so than gives away. Diaby also is at a decent level, an average level, but Felipe Anderson is very economical with the ball, does not get dispossessed. That's nice. That's something Unai Emery hangs his hat on. You look at the likes of players he's had before, the Danny Parejos. Obviously, he played in a different position to where Felipe Anderson was. He likes economy with the ball. He likes to have that. He likes to have stability with the ball as well. When we look at the successful dribble rates as well for somebody like Felipe Anderson, it comes in better than Zaniolo and Bailey as well, albeit far behind Diaby. Pass rating is the best of all of the four that we would have there, and his pass attempts, he's attempted way more passes, so he's a lot better with a higher workload as within a team as well. So you can get duped, I suppose, by looking at the shooting stats and go, oh, he doesn't score enough, and he's only scored 1 goal this season. He doesn't take enough shots, or he's not creative or whatever. He absolutely is creative, and he does donkey work as well, which is really interesting. Which is why I think Unai Emery would look at him and do his chin stroke and say, yeah, maybe there's something in this for me. Once again, I don't know whether we sign him. I don't know whether this is even a true link or whatever. But once again, as I say, we're looking at players to see if we can find types and types of players and types of player traits that maybe Unai Emery is looking for. Because if there is something in this and we can't make it happen, that will become apparent, I suppose, over time. we're 3 transfer windows into the Unai Emery reign, so we don't really know what types of players he wants with this Aston Villa team yet. But it all will become apparent over the next few transfer windows. So it's really guesswork as to what attributes he wants. But I could see him wanting these attributes based on what he's done with teams before. Let's take a little look here at the at the statistics here when we look at the defensive statistics. So just to show you here, they're the attacking statistics, the creativity statistics, fares out really well in this, better than our current crop, I would say, overall, if you were to boil it all down for the metrics that we have there. When we look at defensive contribution, there is no contest here. There is no contest here with regards to who is the best player, who would be better from a defensive point of view. If you think about wanting to create a low block, if you want to keep some creativity while maybe playing in a European quarterfinal, semi-final, and maybe you're trying to see out a game at the end, maybe Unai Emery is looking at the fact that, on the right-hand side there, sometimes Matty Cash or Ezri Konsa is left very open. Maybe we want to have a situation where we start the player maybe against a Liverpool so that Salah can't go to town down one of the wings, or maybe we start against an Arsenal so Saka can't go to town down one of those wings. The reason I bring those two players up is because in the past they have done that. Maybe he brings in a player like this that is better at and is more adept in that defensive role, and maybe that frees up a John McGinn in another area. Maybe we don't need to hamstring ourselves. And I'm not saying that we would, but maybe it frees up a John McGinn to play in behind an Ollie Watkins. Or maybe it frees us up to take John McGinn off. Start him, bring in a Felipe Anderson, 31 years of age, but bring him in and play him from that right-hand side and not lose the defensive ability, not lose as much of the defensive ability that maybe a John McGinn has. So it's all about that tactical elasticity or flexibility or whatever way you want to talk about it. Yeah, we can look at him in a silo and say 31, had a poor last season at West Ham. We want to get young players. We want to get in the next big thing at right midfield. But you've got short-term players and you've got long-term players. With the news coming out recently that Leon Bailey might be signing a new contract, there's your long-term player on the right-hand side. Maybe Felipe Anderson is that short-term player in there. Then maybe a Caden Young takes his place over time if he was signed. So we can't have 21, 22-year-old players in every single position, or 23, 24-year-old players in every position. It'd be absolutely brilliant if we could. And teams have tried it, and there will be teams that will do it. But maybe where Aston Villa are at the moment, maybe that's what Unai Emery is thinking of. Because I always go back to the fact that even when they beat Liverpool, they had Koke played in that right winger situation. He played right back years previously. He's an older player. He was the captain of the team, if I'm not mistaken. And he likes to play, we often talk about he likes to play a big right back, whereas in like a converted centre half. People have said that before. He's also had Dani Alves there. He's had Koke there as well previously, playing in that right back role. But what we've seen him do with Matty Cash is play Matty Cash in that right winger role. Matty Cash might be a small bit too defensive, whereas Felipe Anderson has more going forward that you lack in what he gives in defence, so he can do both ways, if that makes sense. Let's take a look at him in regards to I've popped these guys here. Yes, so this is a bonkers graph here, and I do apologize for it almost. I do apologize. I haven't put in a graph here with regards to how we would square up in comparison to John McGinn, and I kind of regret doing it now. But really what I want to show on this graph here is the difference between this is solely on an attacking point of view. You'll see that the percentages have changed on the left-hand side. This is how Felipe Anderson stacks up against strikers. Second strikers, and obviously I've put him in here. Zaniolo, Bailey, Diaby, and Ollie Watkins are all the people that play either. Obviously, Ollie Watkins plays up top in that striker role. John Duran doesn't have enough minutes under the tank under the belt, should I say, for a proper statistical analysis on him. So I've put in these four guys. And we can see here, he comes out as pretty rounded, albeit he doesn't take an awful lot of shots. And look, the scoring frequency is right down at the bottom there. And the reason for that is because he has only scored one goal this season, and he's played 1,200 minutes already. But what you can see here is his goals per shot on target. So if you look at the 3 o'clock, if you think of this as a clock, you look at the 3 o'clock position. His goals per shot on target is better than any player that we have currently on the team. So and that's why when you look at statistics, you have to look at correlative and causative statistics and situations. Just because he doesn't take an awful lot of shots, he doesn't take an awful lot of shots, that looks like a negative. He scores with a higher percentage of shots that he does take is a positive. He's not wasteful. He's not wasteful. And that's really interesting to see. Also, let's just take a little look at some of his numbers over the course of his career. So he's played 375 games, started 292 games. In that period of time, he scored 66 goals and had 64 assists. If we break that down, his 2 periods at Lazio and his period at West Ham, I've left out his time at Santos in Brazil. But if we look at West Ham, played 73 games, 12 goals, 13 assists, and he had a goal and assist ratio of 0.34 per 90 minutes. Lazio, 296 appearances, 54 goals, 51 assists, a goal or assist ratio per 90 minutes of 0.42. So he was making a goal or scoring a goal 1 every 2 games. At Lazio, at West Ham, he was making a goal or scoring a goal 1 every 3 games. And I understand that there could be droughts and there could be feasts and famines where players have maybe 2 assists for a game and they don't have another assist for 20 games. When we put the numbers up against the amount of appearances, that's the efficiency ratio that we're looking at. And down below, what I've put in here as well is just a quick snapshot. You'll understand now why that this is a quick job for me today to just put these together, because I've put in 2 screenshots there. You can see in the competitions that he's played, the amount of games he's played, the amount of minutes, the amount of games he has played, the amount of games he's started, the minutes he's played, and the amount of 90 minutes he's completed in those competitions as well. You can see here as well, he's played 4 games in the Conference League. He's played 7 games in the Champions League. He's played 33 games in the Europa League. Why would that be of interest to me? European experience of big European games, experience of navigating European games, experience of navigating big European ties, is interesting, because if we want to get to Europe, you can't always have that young kid who's really good. You need to have guys who've been there, done that, and have had the shine knocked off them and come back and maybe had tough days in Europe against big players to be able to lead a team or to be a general within that team as well. And that stands to reason. I think there's very few people who would disagree with that, but I'm open to correction if there are. So yeah, I'm not going to go into too much more on Felipe Anderson. Look, go have a look at him yourselves. If you guys like him, you like him. If you don't, you don't. But I suppose realistically, I wanted to put together potential reasons as to why, if he is signed by Unai Emery, why he might be signed by Unai Emery, what he brings to the table from a defensive and an attacking point of view, and try to marry the two of them together. Because I think a lot of people will just look at goals and assist rates for him, but it's the all around. As I said, Aston Villa are some of their parts. They really, really are. And having that tactical flexibility or elasticity to be able to bring in a player also that has tons and tons of experience at very high levels within the game of European football might be something that Unai Emery wants to do, to be able to drive that midfield engine room to allow us to protect our back four and also create more chances up top. Hey, it's just a thought. I don't know. Let me know what you think as well in the comments below. I really, really appreciate all of those. And as I say, he's going to be for some people. He's not going to be for anyone. My own particular thoughts are, let's see how this one pans out. But it's the type of player that I'm more interested in, as opposed to the player, his age, where he's coming from, what he costs. And because I want to see where Unai Emery's mind is going with regards to tactics, future tactics, and creating a stability within the squad. Thanks a million for watching. In the meantime, we will be back very, very soon with more podcasts. But in the meantime, as I say, stay safe, stay healthy. And as always, up the Villa.